Dear brothers and sisters, aloha. The amazing lady I have the privilege of introducing to you today is my mom, who most of you have come to know over the years as Sister Ching. Sister Ching comes from a small country town, even smaller than Laie, called Barnwell, which is located just across the Canadian border in Alberta. Born as the middle child of 7 siblings, her childhood has been described to me as one of both fun and work. She often spent time playing in what she calls the coolies, while also working hard, hoeing beets and shucking corn. I can tell you, this made any complaints about doing the dishes as a kid totally pointless. Currently, she is the academic advising manager on campus. She loves her students and loves helping each of you as you discover your path or paths here at BYU Hawaii. Like many of you students, in school, Sister Ching was interested in so many different subjects, she had a hard time deciding on just one. So, naturally, she majored in geography with an emphasis in history and a minor in English. Since that time, she has continued in her pursuit of lifelong learning, earning her master's degree this past December. Now, you may be wondering how a tall haole lady from the prairies of Canada ends up becoming a Sister Ching living on a sunny island in Hawaii. She'll be talking a little bit more about her journey here, but I can tell you that it started with a choice. So follow her heart and let the Lord guide her. While offered a volleyball and 3 basketball scholarships after high school, she chose to accept an academic scholarship to attend BYU Provo. One day, while helping her brother move into his new apartment there, she met her brother's roommate, Wilford Ching. Junior, as everyone called him, was a Hawaiian Chinese boy from Laie. After months of secretly liking each other and developing a friendship, they decided to start dating and ultimately got married and were sealed in the Cardston, Alberta temple. After living in Utah for a time, they decided to move to Laie to raise a family, where they had 4 children and embraced the barefoot lifestyle. Here, Junior introduced Marilee to spam musubi and fresh mangoes off the tree, while also teaching her that we like geckos because they eat the bugs. For each of us in our family, Mom has taught and encouraged us, and continues to encourage us, to pursue our dreams and the righteous desires of our hearts. Take me, for example. And yes, as you can see, I am the oldest and the shortest in the family. In high school, I was a dancer, and since then have been blessed to travel the world studying architecture, and received my master's degree last year. My brother Willie, he's the tallest one on your right, is a basketball player who is studying computer science here at BYU Hawaii. My sister Emily is the creative artiste in the family, and she makes yummy breads and dessert while studying baking and pastry in culinary school. And then there's the baby of the family, Sam. He takes after Dad as our Mr. Mechanic or Fix-It, and is currently serving in the California-Los Angeles mission. Perhaps the reason we have been blessed as a family to pursue our passions is because my mom herself is a woman of many talents and interests, including things like reading and sewing. She often sees these talents and opportunities as gifts meant for sharing and uplifting. As a kid, I remember her as the mom that took me to the library to check out the 100+ volumes of the Nancy Drew series. She was the sewer of countless baby blankets, Halloween costumes, hula outfits, and prom dresses. She let me poke the holes in the shell when making delicious homemade pie crust, and was always the first to ask, "What's for dessert?" before anyone even mentioned what we should have for dinner. Then and now, she's what I'm going to call an old school gamer. She loves to play any and all type of board and card games. And while Xbox or PlayStation are not usually her thing, she's often my bass guitarist when playing Rock Band. In addition to being so much fun, she is a tremendous example of obedience, kindness, dedication, and faith. And now I give to you the woman that has always encouraged me to counsel with the Lord and reach for the stars, my wonderful mother, Sister Marilee Ching.
I wish that could just go on and on. Brothers and sisters, aloha. I am very humbled to be standing before you today. It is my prayer that the message I have been inspired to share with you will help someone here in the audience today recognize and have a clearer vision of the Lord's care and love for them. I've titled my remarks, "The Lord's Hand in Our Lives," and I'd like to begin with a question. why are you here at Brigham Young University, Hawaii? Why is Camille from New York, Rafe from Australia, and Victoria from Hong Kong here at BYU Hawaii? Why am I, a girl from the prairies of southern Alberta, here at this university at this time? We all have our own story. It is my belief that the Lord's hand guided each of us to this place at this time. I'd like to share a bit of my story with you. In a way, it began in my college days at Brigham Young University in Provo. Like many of you, I struggled with choosing a major. My dilemma, if one can call this a dilemma, which Hoku referred to, was that I loved too many subjects: math, English, history, biology, home ec, accounting, and even horticulture. Everything was fun and fascinating to me. So narrowing it down to a single major, that was tough. Like many of you, I changed my mind more than once. After much prayer and careful thought, I eventually chose to pursue a Bachelor of Science degree in geography with an emphasis in travel and tourism. Now, did the Lord guide me in my decision? I believe so. The world of travel was an exotic choice of major for this small-town girl. So you may all chuckle, but back then, for me, choosing a degree in travel and tourism was going out on a limb. However, as it turned out, the Lord guided me to choose a degree which would eventually help supplement my family's income in a place where tourism was the #1 industry, Hawaii. The Lord continued to guide me in a way that would lead me here to Brigham Young University, Hawaii. On September 11th, 2001, the tragic bombing of the Twin Towers in New York had a drastic effect on the tourism industry. Air travel almost ground to a stop for a time. Within a month of that tragedy, the agency for which I worked made the decision to shut its doors. Now, a year previously to this event, my husband's employment seemed shaky for a time, and so I sought out another part-time job and interviewed for the position of academic advisor here on this campus. However, my husband's job stabilized, and I was prompted by the Spirit to withdraw my application. Months later, when I was facing unemployment in the travel industry, I admit that I questioned that earlier prompting I had received to withdraw that application. My ability to help sustain our young family was now uncertain. I should not have questioned. The Lord was still mindful of me and helped me immediately secure part-time employment at a local elementary school. I say immediately because this new job opportunity came the week before my last day of employment at the travel agency. Upon the kind recommendation of a friend, I applied for an opening at the elementary school and was hired. The Lord does work in mysterious ways, because the principal later told me that he had seen me working with his grandchildren in the primary organization, and that was one of the things which prompted him to hire me. This is a testimony to everyone here that all experience is to our benefit. Every calling you receive from the Lord will add to your skills and help you develop into the person the Lord knows you can be. So right now, you are all thinking, wait, that can't be the end of the story because Sister Ching is not yet here at Brigham Young University, Hawaii. Almost a year passed when I once again saw an opening for the same position of an academic advisor that I had interviewed for several months previously. I immediately felt a confirmation of now is the time, and fortunately was offered the position when I applied. I knew that I was where the Lord wanted me to be. Part of my testimony which confirms this to me comes from my patriarchal blessing. I'll share just a small part of it, in which the Lord tells me that men and women will come to me for counsel and advice in the activities of their lives. To the shy young girl who received this blessing, this sentence from my patriarchal blessing was almost unimaginable at the time. Now this sentence of my blessing is clearer to me. I haven't shared this experience widely with a lot of people previously because it is very personal and sacred to me, and perhaps to others, my story may seem insignificant when you look at the big plan. It's true. My story is a minuscule piece of the Lord's larger plan. But to me, this is further testimony that He truly cares for each one of us individually and will guide our path if we allow Him to. By sharing my experience with you today, I want to acknowledge the Lord's hand in my life, as counseled in my Father's favorite scripture. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths. It is easy to understand why these particular 2 lines of Scripture are dear to my Father's heart. When I ponder them, I see a roadmap to help us be successful in this earthly life. And more immediately, perhaps why both your path and mine have been directed to this university at this time. Here are the 4 road signs that I found within this scripture guiding our path. First, put our complete trust in the Lord. 2, be humble and seek understanding through Him. 3, acknowledge the Lord in all ways. And 4, be open to His direction. First, put our complete trust in the Lord in all things. Putting our complete trust in the Lord is something that we must consciously make an effort to do. I think most of us were encouraged as we were growing up to be self-sufficient and independent. These are good character traits, and it may seem counterintuitive to then say that we must put our complete trust in someone else. However, this is the beauty of the principle. When we do put our trust in the Lord, or in a sense, allow Him control of our lives, then we actually become stronger than we could possibly be all by ourselves. We must still do our part, but with the Lord's help, we can accomplish even more amazing things. The best example of this is a missionary. A missionary is willing to leave the comforts of home and family and serve in an unfamiliar area for an extended time. There are many examples of our early pioneer missionaries who left to serve with barely a suit of clothing, a pair of socks, and a Book of Mormon. My great-great-grandfather, Benjamin Franklin Johnson, served several early missions for the church, including one here to what was then known as the Sandwich Islands in 1852. He was married at the time, and so he left most of his earthly goods with his family for their support during his absence. And he journeyed with very little to the West Coast and then on to Hawaii. His journal relates many financial struggles, but always a conviction that the Lord would provide a way. When it came time for him to return home from his mission in 1855, he was left without any means to pay for his passage home, a sum of $50. He resigned himself to the fact that he would likely have to wait another 6 months before his fare could be raised, when a faithful convert from the island of Hawaii gave the mission a sum of $150, a portion of which he offered for the use of my great-grandfather's passage home. This is not only an example of how the Lord provided for my grandfather, but also an example of how others can become the hands of the Lord here on earth, which I will talk more of later.